Madrid, 1991. A teenage girl was stretched thin between childhood and adulthood. Her name was Verónica. At just 15, she had already inherited burdens far too large. Her father had died, leaving behind not only grief, but the responsibility of survival. Her mother worked exhausting shifts at a local bar, stumbling home long after midnight, eyes lined with fatigue. That absence left Verónica in charge of 3 small children, her sisters Lucia and Irene, and her youngest brother, Antonio. Each morning, she dressed them, fed them, walked them to school, and each night she tucked them in, though she herself longed to be cared for. On the morning of June 12th, the city hummed with anticipation. A solar eclipse was coming. Schools across Spain prepared students for the rare event. At Verónica's school, teachers spoke of science, but drifted into the old myths that during an eclipse, the sky darkened not just with shadow, but with spirits. In ancient times, they said, people offered blood sacrifices. They believed the veil between worlds grew thin, and restless souls could be summoned. Most of the children laughed nervously, eager to see the sun swallowed by darkness, but Verónica wasn't laughing. She leaned across her desk toward her friends Rosa and Diana. While the rest of the school prepared for rooftop viewing, the 3 girls had whispered of something else, something forbidden. When the hour of the eclipse arrived, the students climbed the stairs toward the roof. Teachers handed out smoked glass to shield their eyes. But down in the basement, the air was stale and damp, smelling faintly of chalk and rust. It was here that the 3 girls crouched together around a Ouija board. The board's surface glistened in the dim light. Diana wanted to call the spirit of her boyfriend, recently killed in an accident. Verónica wanted to reach her father. She placed his photograph before the board and pressed her trembling fingers to the upturned glass. Their breaths came shallow, echoing faintly against stone walls. At first, silence. Then the glass twitched, once, twice. Then it began sliding rapidly, spelling words none of them could quite comprehend. The air turned sharp, almost metallic, and the glass grew hot under their skin. Diana and Rosa gasped and tore their hands away, but Verónica held on, her wide eyes fixed. The glass trembled violently and shattered. The edge cut her finger. A droplet of blood struck the board. In that instant, the board cracked down the center with a sound like splintering bone. Verónica froze, body rigid, her gaze distant as if pulled inward. Then Diana screamed, and Veronica's mouth opened wide, releasing a guttural cry in a voice not her own, before collapsing to the ground. When she woke, sterile white walls surrounded her. The school infirmary smelled faintly of antiseptic. A doctor explained calmly that she had fainted, likely from anemia. But as she left with her siblings, something pricked the back of her neck. Across the courtyard stood a nun, her head tilted slightly. She was blind, her eyes clouded and pale. Students called her Sister Death, yet those lifeless eyes turned directly toward Verónica, unblinking, as if she were truly seeing her. The stare lingered long after Verónica looked away. That evening, the family gathered for dinner. The apartment was quiet except for the scrape of cutlery. Suddenly, Verónica froze. Her hand hovered in midair, her face drained of color. The muscles in her body stiffened as though seized by invisible hands. Moments later, red welts bloomed across her torso, jagged like claw marks. The children screamed. Later, while bathing Antonio, steam curled from the tub. A faint noise drifted from her bedroom. Leaving the boy for only a second, she followed the sound, but the door slammed shut behind her, trapping her inside. Antonio's cries pierced the air. She forced the door open and rushed back, only to find him thrashing and scalding water. The hot tap turned on full. His small body blistered. She pulled him free, sobbing as she covered his burns with ointment. That night, shadows thickened in her room. She dreamed of her father calling her name, but his face dissolved into darkness, and his body swelled into a faceless demon. Black hands erupted from beneath her bed, seizing her wrists, dragging her down. She awoke gasping, but the terror clung to her chest, refusing to fade. At school the next day, Rosa avoided her gaze, stepping away as if Veronica carried a sickness. Alone and desperate, Veronica descended into the basement again. Sister Death stood there, the blind nun listening without surprise as Veronica spilled her story. Her voice cracked with fear. "You called something," the nun whispered, "but it was not your father. A demon has come, and it walks beside you. It will never leave. You must protect your family." Her words fell heavy as iron chains. That night, Veronica scrawled protective runes on the apartment walls, chalk dust staining her hands. But the markings darkened, sizzling as if touched by fire before burning away. The air grew thick. Lucia's cries split the silence. She was being strangled by unseen hands. Veronica lunged to save her, but the girl sobbed, accusing, "It was you! You were choking me!" Confusion clawed at Veronica's mind. Was it her, or the spirit using her hands as its own? Another nightmare gripped her. Her siblings attacked her, their teeth sinking into her flesh, Antonio's small hands squeezing her throat. Her mother screamed accusations as the walls closed in. She woke slick with sweat, blood streaking her sheets. Under her mattress, the fabric smoldered, a black burn mark shaped like a monstrous face. She tore away the others' bedding. Every mattress bore the same brand of corruption. One morning, Antonio whispered that their father had come to him. He said their father wanted to take him away. Veronica seized him, panic flooding her voice. "No! If you're ever scared, don't listen. Close your eyes, cover your ears, and scream my name. I'll come." Her fear drove her back to Sister Death. "We didn't finish. The door is still open. To banish it, you must complete the ritual. You must say goodbye." Veronica begged Rosa for help, but Rosa's face was pale, her refusal sharp. Alone, Veronica decided she would risk it. That night, she gathered her siblings. The cracked Ouija board lay on the table. She instructed Antonio and her sisters to draw protective symbols, but Antonio, confused, copied sigils of invocation instead, symbols that welcomed spirits rather than driving them away. They began. The glass shuddered, sliding across letters. Veronica demanded the spirit leave. The air collapsed inward, freezing cold. Darkness pooled in the corners until it formed a figure, tall, faceless, black as ash. It lunged. The children screamed. Shadows hurled themselves across the walls. Veronica grabbed the phone, dialing police, but the line crackled and went dead. Antonio was torn away, dragged screaming into the dark. Lucia and Irene fled into the stairwell, but Veronica turned back, running into the storm of shadows. She found Antonio locked in the closet of her own room, his eyes clenched shut and his hands over his ears, screaming her name over and over. She froze. Horror ripped through her chest. It was her. She had done this. She had burned Antonio in the bath. She had strangled Lucia. It was her hands, her body, her voice. The demon wasn't haunting the house, it was inside her. Trembling, she lifted a shard of glass and pressed it to her throat, determined to end it before the spirit consumed her completely. But invisible hands clamped around her, yanking her upward. Her body convulsed, suspended mid-air like a marionette. She shrieked as her limbs bent unnaturally, fighting for control. Then, the door burst open. Police officers stood frozen, horror written across their faces. They watched a teenage girl writhing in midair, suspended by nothing, before crashing violently to the floor. She lay limp, her chest heaving, eyes wide. The officers rushed in, pulling the children out. Veronica was carried to an ambulance, but moments later, her body stilled. Back inside, the detective's gaze caught on a drawing scattered on the ground. As he watched, the paper curled, darkened, and burned to ash. Later, in his official report, he wrote words unlike any ever recorded in Spain. The cause of death? Demonic possession. It was the first police file in Spanish history to acknowledge the supernatural. And so, the story of Verónica remains, whispered like a warning, a reminder of the doors that should never be opened,